This is November 5th of 2025, and this is a pretty interesting dream slash encounter that I had. And so this was November 5th, that night, or it was either that night, it was either the 4th or the 5th when I had this, but I was watching a show. We were just watching TV together, me and my family, and completely unrelated to what we were watching. As I'm watching TV, I suddenly began to feel a strong burden from the Lord. It was really unusual, and I was really unsettled by it. And it was almost as if I discerned confusion, despair, and fear in the hearts of Americans, and especially within the body of Christ. It was like I could just feel this. It felt like a swirl, confusion, despair, and I began to feel something of this swirl in the spirit, and I could not put my finger on it. I didn't even verbalize what I felt. I'm sitting there watching a show with my family, and all of this is happening, and I just quietly began to pray to the Lord. I said, Lord, I really need understanding about what is going on right now in America, because I was feeling something so just swirly, I guess is the word for it. And I said, I need a dream sent to me tonight. Could you send me a dream tonight? So the Lord heard my prayer, and he sent a dream. In the dream, I was in a room with several people, and President Trump walked in. He was very interested in the people there. He walked throughout the room, and he looked each person in the eyes and shook their hand. When he came to me, he did the very same thing. And I became aware that as he was looking into our eyes, it was to see if we actually understood him on a deeper level. And it was like he was looking to see, do we really understand him and what he's actually doing right now? And that's the sense I had. And so I knew in the dream that when he shook my hand and when he looked in my eyes, he saw that I understood him. It was like, you know how dreams are. It's like, something in the dream. I knew he understood that I understood him. So then I suddenly found myself standing in New York City with President Donald Trump. So it went from that moment, and I believe that was God saying, Andrew, because you understand what Trump is doing right now, because you understand a little bit of what's going on, I'm going to now show you what's going on. And I found myself in New York City with President Trump. He was looking at the city that he loved and remembering different places that were nostalgic and meaningful to him. I knew that he felt love for New York the way that someone has love for the town or the home that they grow up in. And as he looked at the city again, I knew it saddened him to see such utter devastation and destruction throughout the city, from it being the bright beacon it once was to a place now overrun with corruption and darkness. I looked at the city again, and this time it looked like it was falling apart and in disrepair, almost as if it had been in a war. Like, that's the sense I had was, man, this looks almost like a war zone. But I looked again at Donald Trump, and no one knew that he was walking these streets except for the Secret Service and the military, because they were accompanying him as he walked through the streets. At this point in the dream, I suddenly became aware by revelation that the military must present a scenario to the American people that their greatest city is being overrun and taken down by enemies within and without. Trump was sad that this had to be done. Like, I knew this. Trump was sad that this had to be done, but he knew this was the only way to show the people what the enemies of America would do without an awakened population. I then understood that Trump was not hopeless. So in the dream, I'm becoming aware of all these things. I suddenly know Trump, as he's watching this, even though there's a sadness that they had to take the plan and present something to America that was not pleasant. Trump was not hopeless. He was just sober because the plan needed to bring us into a reality that seems as if it gets worse before it gets better. But then the dream ended as I witnessed this great peace I saw in his eyes. And I even saw military there. I don't know who they were, but they were surrounded, and I could just sense it was peace on them. And I knew they were in control of this plan, and what lies ahead for America, I knew, is an incredible awakening and deliverance into a bright golden age. And so I believe it will be necessary for things to seem as if they are getting worse, but to understand that it is the precipice for when it gets much, much better.
Can I
So,
ask
yeah.
on this part here? And I missed the first few paragraphs, so I was just reading the ones that I just missed. But in my scanning to catch up, it says Trump was sad that this had to be done. Can you clarify what had to be done? Is that clear in the dream, or was that just understood? What had to be done?
Okay, so now, so this dream came, and just so you know, Steve, like I check in on news here and there, but I
Sure.
really am not at all too aware.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm probably more aware by magnitudes more than you are, and that's good
Yeah,
because you're not filling your mind with facts.
yeah, I try to stay somewhat like not too engaged with that. But here's what I don't even think I had heard. So I had heard of the mayor that was supposedly elected, mayor in New York City. What was his name?
Mamdami or something.
Yeah, yes.
Mamdami.
So I
Yeah,
had heard. I don't even know what, like how much I knew, but I knew that this man was going to be running for mayor of New York. But that's pretty much all I knew, and I knew that he was like Muslim.
yeah.
And then that night when I had this dream is the night that I did not know this until after I had this dream, that he was elected. So that's what I believe this dream was speaking to, is that the plan, there has been a plan. Now, again, this stuff's controversial when I say this.
Yeah. Okay. You're saying, are you saying, okay, this is just typical Steve. This is what I do. Are you saying this is a white hat's plan, the good guy's plan? And
Yes.
okay. And then are you saying that Mamdami's playing along?
That
Or is that a real election that, or, what?
Well, Steve, and it might be hard for some people to understand this, but because of the dreams and the lane of revelation God's had me on for so
Yeah.
long, I've understood so much of what we are seeing and witnessing as actually a coordinated plan.
Okay. I
That
mean, I have too, right? But
yes,
then I get stuck. I don't know if you've ever heard Dr. Jen when she comes on. Have you ever heard her at any time, or you don't?
yes, I have in the
But
past. Yeah,
she'll say in the past, and people will know because she's very popular when she comes on, and she doesn't come on as a prophet, but as a patriot, and with an inside. She's inside in the government a lot, but she'll say, "I don't like it when people say this is a movie because real people are getting hurt," and that's a mouthful right there because she's really saying. I'm going to put words in her mouth. Okay, this is not the way she said it, but it's as if she's really saying, this is a movie and a planned theater, but I don't like people saying it's a movie in a planned theater because in every planned theater, real people are actually getting hurt. It's something
yes.
like that.
Well, I think here's the way I understand it, is that God wants us to understand that much of what we're being presented is actually being coordinated by the military, but it does have impact in our
Yeah,
nation. It's going to have real impact.
yeah,
But see, the thing is that we need to understand that and this is what we need to gear our prayers towards also, is that there is the military is in control. The patriots in the military do have control, so it's not out of control.
Yeah.
But there is a need for some reality to take place that wakes up the population, because first and foremost, I think God is trying to shake America awake and say, your nation has been overrun. And unless this operation had some of these particular aspects to it, you would remain asleep. And the voting system would still be under the strong hand of the deep state. But see, all of this is now, it's helping awake a population to say, wait a second, we didn't vote for this. Wait a second, this is not what, so there are, by design, certain things that had to take place, even optically. And that's what I believe this dream was showing. And when I woke up, I really believe it was almost like I knew this was connected to the mayor that just got elected there.
Yeah. And so let me come back to that one and see if I can find that line again, because I was looking at it up here. I can put it on the screen sometimes, but where it says, I'm going to read that, okay? Because I think you've read it already. As I looked at the city again, I knew it saddened him to see such utter devastation. You'd already read that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It saddened him, Trump, to see this utter devastation and destruction, actual literal destruction throughout the city, from the bright beacon it once was to a place overrun with corruption and darkness. So that's real.
Here's what I'll say.
Or at least to a degree, it's real. Maybe
to a degree, it's real. I believe there's two things at work here. I believe, one, there is the military plan it's the white hat operation, and I believe the mayor is in league with them, who is presenting. That's my personal.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd rather you just come out and say it like that. I mean, I'm happy that you are, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because it makes it very clear. Yeah. It's a much clearer picture when you say it that way, because it means maybe we weren't quite stupid enough to elect someone like that intentionally. And that makes me feel better about us as a nation. But at the same time, then I can look at it and go, oh, but I'm glad this is happening then, because it's waking us up to how close we came to doing that on purpose.
Well, that's the key thing that you just said, Steve, is we do not know. We have been so asleep. We do not know how much the enemy, and when I say the enemy, I mean all the deep state elements. We don't know how much they have had control and how much devastation they actually had planned. And they would have used, and they will use, if they can, the Muslim extremists to devastate America. And so this is part of that. It's part of that awakening. And I believe the dream that I was seeing, it looked like New York had been under it looked like World War II with rubble and all of that. But I believe it was God was emphasizing something to say, this is kind of the awakening. It's not going to literally, I don't believe literally we're going to see the city destroyed, but I believe God was trying to say it's going to have the feeling and the impression that we've lost this city, that this is being overrun and overtaken. And that is going to be an awakening factor. And we're going to say, wait a second. So it's all, there's purpose in it. And that's what I want to say is, I saw Trump, I saw the military, they were looking at it. They're like, man, it's unfortunate that this has to be a part of the plan that we take the American people through. But there was hope in their eyes, and they had peace, and they knew what's on the other side is great awakening and a great rescue. Just like you mentioned earlier, so many things are being done right now to actually rescue us.
Yeah. It's I'm thinking about who's the prophet from the 60s or 70s, maybe. I want to say Wilkerson or something, is that he saw devastation in New York City, and I'd always hoped and prayed that it was wrong. But it makes me wonder if he was seeing this plan by the enemy and by the white hats, because the enemy planned it anyway, a devastation.
Oh, yeah.
So he was at least seeing the enemy's plan, but he might have been seeing the white hats interjecting so that it looked like the same thing was happening, but it wasn't happening to that degree, but it was a massive theater to wake the populace up, not just in New York City, but throughout the world, really, and throughout the US.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And so this is all, I finished that part with saying that I believe it's necessary for things to seem as if they are getting worse, but to understand that it is the precipice for when it gets much, much better. And so we need to pray, we need to trust, and we need to know in our hearts that the best days for America and New York are yet ahead. That's the sense I left with in that dream. It wasn't like, oh no, there wasn't doom, there wasn't despair. It's going to look bad for a little bit, but guess what? This is going to be the ingredient necessary for a great awakening.